Well, the topic that we got today is a how else to call it other than the perennial one, right? Like one that will and perhaps always has been with software development, and it's likely that it will never ever disappear. And so the interesting the interesting discourse that we'll have in here will be interesting because we'll have two sides of the coin sort of being talked through in here. On one side, we'll have what we would call product development, as in you are building your own product, versus on the other side, doing what, well, if we want to call it them, agencies or software houses are actually doing, where the kind of skin in the game is sort of slightly different. And so with that, I guess, there already was a bit of an introduction of the panelists, but I would still like to go through everyone on this panel one more time. And so if we could start from Tomáš in here, and the question will be very simple. Can you do a bit of an introduction of what you do, and within that context, where do you run into technical debt?
I'm Tomáš, hi. I'm co-founder and CTO of a company called Luigi's, which you have probably never heard of, but we are one of those companies that run in the background. And if you've ever interacted with e-commerce, if you ever bought something online, that there's a high chance you have used Luigi's services. We do search, recommendations, product listings for the major players in e-commerce, like Alza, Nai, and even non-e-commerce players like O2 or Slovak Telecom. We are across all of the Europe and expanding more and more west. And when you said that there are two sides of the coin, then we cover the whole coin, because we have a product, we did like the search and the recommender itself, and we have a division or department who provides professional services for the clients, and we integrate the services on behalf of the clients. Technical debt, yeah, we have lots of it, both on the product side, we have technical debt in the integrations, and we also have that special debt that is really difficult to get rid of at the API levels and levels of various libraries, which once you get live, it's very difficult to change and get rid of it, but we can discuss later.
Sure. Thank you very much. Marcel, would you mind to continue?
Of course. My name is Marcel. I'm from Vacuumlabs, which some of you might know. We sit right across the street here at Sky Park. We are, as you call, the software house or professional services company focused primarily on fintech. In that, you can include crypto and some other industries. So we've done work with like Kiwi in travel and others. We're about 250 people. So we have experienced technical debt. Some of it is because we take over existing projects from clients. So for clients, we take over from previous teams. So we deal with that a lot. Otherwise, we also have internal tooling and internal systems that sometimes don't get managed as perfectly as we would like. So, and I'm sure all of you are experienced with that as well. So I'll probably be speaking more from the perspective of how clients get impacted by technical debt and how we try to resolve it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Dušan?
Hi, I'm Dušan. I'm head of engineering at Cloudtalk, which is a post-Series B startup. It's a voice platform for sales and support teams. So if you are a salesperson and wants to make a lot of those like cold calls, you can use Cloudtalk. Or if you are a support person and you want to receive calls on local numbers, so if you are in Poland, you are most probably calling to a Polish number, even though the business can reside in UK. So that's what we provide. In terms of technical debt, as Cloudtalk very recently was like an early stage startup, at the beginning you are finding product market fit, and you are not looking into like doing all the things right. And as you scale, as you onboard more customers, that's where you start having some problems and you need to fix the technical debt. So as any other company, we do have technical debt. We are trying to mitigate it, but more on that later.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Adam?
Hey, my name is Hamšík. I'm a co-founder of Labyrinth Labs. We are from the companies who do a lot of services, but we look on them in a little bit different way. We don't necessarily want to bill hours and do a lot of like body shops. We prefer to do projects and maybe do work in a little bit different way. But we generally focus on cloud, Kubernetes, and helping our customers to live where it really helps them, which from our point of view, it's cloud.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matej, and I'm guilty of technical debt. I work at Sentry. I've been working there for the past 5 years. I'm software engineer turned engineering manager. So I have this constant struggle inside me where engineer inside me would love to refactor the code and polish it to absolute perfection, and manager in me wants to ship new features fast. So that's fun. We'll talk about that a bit later.
Awesome, thank you very much. So let's just start. Let's keep the mic down. Let's just start. I guess the first question I'd like to ask more on the people on the product side is, okay, so is it really inevitable? Is it really inevitable that when you are building something that ends up being sort of used by people, and hence there are expectations of it working long term, is it really inevitable that you will cut corners such that it will come to you later in the future? In other words, my bigger question is the term technical debt something that has sort of become part of the vocabulary for the right reasons?
I would like to know that myself, and if there's a company that is not ashamed of their code and they make good money, then I would like to join that company. No, I think this is absolutely normal process where, especially when you are in MVP phase, let's say you're a startup, you're just building your product, and you have short runway. Let's say you have 6 months until you run out of money. Of course, you're going to take some shortcuts, right? Because if you make perfect code, but then you don't find product market fit or something, then all of it is going to be trashed anyway, right? So I think the important piece is that when you find the product market fit and you start to scale and you start to get more and more users and you start to hire at crazy fast pace, that these initial problems are addressed.
Yeah, like from my point of view, I think, I agree that it's inevitable that you will generate some technical debt. What's probably really important, and you should focus on that, is that you understand that it's there, and you understand that it's a problem you have to solve. It's not very different from any other debt you can have, like your mortgage. You cannot behave or think that you will not pay your mortgage in some time. You can postpone the payments, you can do whatever you want, refinance, but you will have to pay it in some
I'm sorry for jumping in, but is that really the case? Being the devil's advocate in here, is it not possible to postpone technical debt forever? In other words, if it makes money and it runs, what do I care as a business owner?
Yeah, but in that case, you don't necessarily have to pay with money. You can pay with your soul. You will have, your engineers will leave because they will be very unhappy.
Right.
You will pay to your cloud vendor because your application will not scale. So there will be, or you will have outages. So there are different ways how you pay for the technical debt, not necessarily by I don't have enough users or whatever. But so yes, I think that's for me.
Yeah, I would say there is a balance to be struck, right? Either extreme is bad. If you have engineers that are working just on refactorings for refactorings, that's probably, and not delivering features fast enough, that's bad for the business. But as Adam said, if there is a lot of raging tech debt, then engineers are usually not happy. The features are taking longer to deliver, and it might impact customers who then churn because of incidents, or your engineers might churn in the end from the company.
Right. Thank you. Well, with Marcel and perhaps Tomáš, I would like to sort of take a different sort of a spin. if you are interacting with clients and you are building the code for them or maintaining perhaps for some time the code for them, how do you even breach the topic of there being, dare I say, technical debt? From their perspective, at least I imagine it must be something sort of difficult to wrap their heads around.
I don't think it's that difficult.
Okay.
I think it's changed over the past, 10 years. If you asked this question 10 years ago, I think the conversations would have been a lot harder. But those who choose to outsource their work in any fashion have gotten used to the fact that it's not just about, we build it and then it'll just function. It's not a business card design that you can then just print 10 years from now if it's the same business card and it's the same thing. Things change, iOS versions update, things update. So the world changes and they've become more accustomed to it. But I think the biggest question for them is always either performance. So things go slower over time. So they really listen to the fact that there's performance issues. And the other thing is just building new features will take longer. Because if you estimate on top of a very buggy code base, it's going to take longer. So they almost understand that the first few months might just be a bit of cleanup, which is necessary.
Interesting. So what you are saying is that the customer generally gets the point where you come sort of to basically a nasty code base that it has to be cleaned up first?
Well, sometimes you probably don't want a client that doesn't understand it.
I see.
And I know that's an easy way to say it, but as I don't know how many of you have your own businesses versus work for others, but especially if you're building your own business or have some say in your business, it's very important to understand that you choose the clients you have by rejecting some or just giving them such high prices for the work that if they take it, fine, we'll do it for the money. But otherwise, it's too risky. It's too risky for us. Like you guys said, you don't want the developers to leave. You don't want the teams to leave. So maybe that's a cop out, but I think choose the clients that understand. If you can. If you can't, unfortunately, you're gonna be in pain. And
that's a nice message. Sure.
Just the truth.
Thank you, Adam. Feel free.
Yeah, I just don't want to hijack the discussion, but generally I'm coming from services or professional services field. So the way how we are maybe famous with our clients in a way that we tell them straight ahead, guys, you don't really have a good application here. You will have to refactor quite a lot of it, and these outages or whatever you have, it's more or less result of the design or architecture or the way how you wrote it. And I think they really appreciate it from the discussions we have, because sometimes it's really necessary from someone from outside to tell you the truth, to actually listen to it.
Interesting. Thank you. Tomáš, I wanted to sort of pose the same or similar question to you. Let's do a different sort of a spin. Is there a way in which you can basically sort of push the clients to kind of clean some of their old stuff as part of your involvement with them? In other words, is it possible for you to do this sort of, the scout thing, which is we leave it cleaner than it has been? I assume that in e-commerce, it's basically, I'll give you this amount of money, just make, me more money.
I don't quite have this perspective, since our projects are, we are not taking over existing client code. We are just starting from scratch, and the projects are usually very short, up to 1 month. So we just start, and what I'm observing is, and I think that's quite a shared experience between client work and project work, that we accumulate most of the technical debt as we keep learning and extending the project and the domain. We start and we think we understand what the client decided, what the client requests this, and then we do our best to capture that in code. But then the client sees the product and they start asking for changes, and that's where we accumulate most of the debt. And constant changes and learning experience, that's where it happens for us.
I see. So what you're saying is basically that the tech debt is effectively a kind of byproduct of the learning process throughout time?
Exactly. you learn more about the domain and suddenly you see like your previous view was not correct, and now you have a choice. So you can continue the old model, or you can like start from scratch or refactor. And again, that's the hard question. Should I do it, or should I just ship the feature fast and be done with it?
Right. Awesome. Thank you. Let's switch tracks again a bit. Matej, I would have a question for you. So give us the sort of Sentry view. How do you handle the tension between we gotta clean this up versus, but there are three of these features that are on the roadmap or that will almost certainly bring us X revenue. How does Sentry balance through that? Like, walk me through the process, if you can.
Yeah, I think we'll just try to balance it, right? Like what it was said, we definitely have some skeletons in the closet, but I think it's important to know like which ones are the most important ones to address at this time, right now. Otherwise, it's going to bite us in the ass either immediately or 1 year from now when we will try to GA, like put this feature under general availability that we already have on our roadmap in 1 year, right? So I think this is how we prioritize. And then once we locate these things, then I think it's important that we get buy-in from them. So
who's them in here, just so that
from all the people in the company, right? So of course leadership, right? But then we try to also talk to all other engineers in the company, especially if it's a cross-team thing. So
out of curiosity, how big is Sentry engineering-wise? Right
I think we should be around 300-400 engineers or so.
So all of them, 400, are involved in the discussion?
Well, not all of them, right? So it depends. I'll give you one example. So one of my all-time favorite big refactoring projects was how we moved our entire front-end code base to TypeScript. It was a mammoth effort that spanned over 100,000 lines of code, more than 1,000 files, and it started as a Hack Week project. So Hack Week is a week every year in the company where we pause our daily work and we start working on something fun that might not even be useful, but sometimes there are even new products created during that Hack Week. But you can also create Sentry logo-shaped earrings, right, during that week. Anyway, we wanted to convert our code base to TypeScript. We started doing that during Hack Week, and it was successful. With one small caveat. So like all good software projects, it went over budget 52 times. So instead of 1 week, it took us well over 1 year. But we used our technical steering committee to drive this. So it's a fancy word for a group of people that meet every 2 weeks on Thursday and talk about how to move our front-end code base forward. And we talked there openly about it between engineers that are part of that group because they are excited about front-end, right? So not every front-end engineer is there, but at least those that really do care. And of course, this had to have a leadership buy-in because it's a big effort, right?
My last question on this topic: how do you get leadership buy-in for something like this? Like, what the MBAs generally hear is like refactor never works.
So it's usually in the form of some Notion page that you probably sent before for a pre-read, and then you have a meeting about it, right? But I think what you're asking about is what does this Notion page need to show, right? And yeah, you just have to be honest. Like you just need to answer questions like, what will it do for us? Why now? And so on. And
so build a coherent story around it, right? Like what is going to bring? Awesome. Dušan, would there be something you could follow?
Yeah, at Cloudtalk we look during the roadmap prioritization. We look at the impact and why. Like so, all the stakeholders like engineering managers, product managers, and leadership have a discussion on the roadmap. And for more engineering-led projects, we, as I said, we look at impact, at why, and what happens if we don't do it now. That's an important piece to the whole puzzle. And it's also about like communication. I can give you an example. During one demo, when one of our teams was presenting work that has been completed or feature that took much longer than anticipated. They also had a slide about a number of files changed, number of lines of code changed, and if they had that refactoring project done, which was postponed several times, it would have taken much shorter time. So this is also very impactful in terms of communication to stakeholders to see if we plan that engineering project, it would have an impact on the velocity later on. Also, having a long-term roadmap helps. If you have a long-term roadmap, you can say, yeah, these 2 or 3 brackets on the roadmap, we can do them faster if we prioritize this engineering project sooner.
When you say these things like faster and sooner, isn't that a bit too vague?
Obviously, we have some ballpark estimates, and then we split the work to more user stories and estimate them more properly. But it's like that.
I see. Awesome. Adam, I was thinking of coming to you. What do you see on the sort of DevOps side? How do you sort of communicate that friends, unless you sort of change the architecture here, this is going to happen forever?
Yeah, I think, and I wanted to actually continue on that. Very often in DevOps or SRE part of work, you will have outages and you will experience them. And the process where we look at the outage and think about them and talk and try to figure out what actually was the cause. And very often we can trace it back to some sort of a technology or something we were planning to refactor for a while, and either on our side, on the code side, we forgot or didn't really prioritize. I think that's one of the really good communication points, how to actually explain and show to management and to stakeholders that, hey, this is really worth of your time and company monies and time to actually fix, because it has a real impact. And so the way how you structure and process your RCAs or root cause analysis, and how do you look at your outages or issues we experience as a DevOps engineers, is, I think, really, really important for the communication at the end, what you put in your Notion. Hey guys, this is costing us money.
Right. Awesome. It will end up, it looks like it will boil down to communication anyway. And on that note, friends, feel free to use Slido over here. Feel free to send us some questions. We'll move towards the Q&A part very shortly. But before that, I was hoping to ask Tomáš, you talked a bit about the, how difficult it is to kind of change the APIs once they, get used. I guess that's also a perennial topic and something you, we will not solve in here for sure, but I kind of try to walk us through some of the strategies you use to make sure that's even doable or even sort of worth thinking about.
I think there's no good advice here, unfortunately. It's a solved issue. Basically, you just have to stomach it and make a V2 or V3 or V4 of the API, which is a pain in the ass. Nobody wants to do, because suddenly you have to support 2 sets or 3 sets of clients. Of course, no client is happy if you tell them you have to upgrade your API calls. That's just not going to happen. So yeah, we have some APIs where the pain was so large. We just had to stomach it and make another version. But of course, no engineer is happy with that decision, because suddenly you have to support 2 separate worlds.
Right. But then what you're saying is that effectively you have to bite the bullet for a while for the consumers of the first API to disappear. Is that the only option?
Sometimes you can just dance around it, and as long as you are not removing stuff or making breaking changes, you can add stuff, you can deprecate stuff. That's okay. But for some changes, we just had to bite the bullet. That's it.
Interesting. As you can see, it's a very honest debate over here. So I'll pull a question I was sort of saving for the end. Marcel, last time we were on the stage together, it was about these AI things. So I have to ask, how do you sort of view the fact that much of the code will be probably written by something not really a human in the future? what implications do you think that's going to have on what we call, technical debt these days?
So we don't yet know how fast and how it will change and how AI will impact this industry. I think an interesting description of it, and I hope nobody will be offended, is there will be less coders, but maybe more or the same of developers/engineers. The difference is probably the best way to look at it is somebody who gets told what to code and just then does it and does a PR on it, and those that think about what needs to be done. Those people will stay longer. The simple tasks will slowly be done by AI. I have zero doubt about that, and that's because we are already doing that. Whether that's Copilot by GitHub, or, which some of you might have heard of, Cursor app. I don't know whether, has anybody tried Cursor here? Maybe a few. It's still early in what it can do, but the promise is basically towards the technical debt is, okay, so I have this problem, please try and fix this, which is potentially faster than doing it through a junior person or doing it yourself. It might introduce more time, but we yet don't know how good the models will get. O1 by GPT-4 is significantly better than GPT-4. We'll see what others come up with, but whether we like it or not, there will be a lot of code, maybe not in your businesses, but there will be a lot of code out there written by AI, and it will introduce that. I don't yet know whether it's technical or logical, because people will ask to write an application, and it's actually won't do what you want it to do, but it will technically work. So we'll see. But it's the way it's already shaking up this information world. It's going to shake up the development world as well, for sure. But Adam, you feel it looks like you want to say something to this. You lean forward. You lean forward exactly when I started talking about it. Okay.
Awesome, thank you. Well, friends, again, feel free to submit some of your questions. I have a last sort of panel question, then we'll go straight to Q&A. Whoever wants to take this, look, this is a developers conference. There are probably developers in the audience who are struggling with basically technical debt around their world because they don't have managers like yourself, or they are not in companies like yours. What would be an actionable thing you would suggest to them that they can do, that they themselves can reasonably do to change the world they're in? And pretty please don't say work for our company. Okay, so like let's do something they can you think is a sort of a nice thing they can try tomorrow off of it. Would anyone be willing to try that?
I'll go first. So this may sound a little bit too optimistic, but some of you probably know broken windows theory, right? That says that if you are in a location where there are broken windows or any signs of uncivilized behavior, it attracts more crime, even more serious crime. That's why people try to fix these things. So I would say that in your code base, try to be a good citizen if possible. Try to fix those broken windows before they become major crimes. Again, maybe too optimistic, but yeah.
Cool, awesome. Dušan?
I'm hoping I hope I'm not stating the obvious, but I would say follow Boy Scouts rule. You already said it, like leave the campground cleaner than you found it. To some extent, obviously, like if you are working on some bug that could be fixed in a day, you don't put another week of refactoring on top of it because your managers would hate you, I guess. But always by small pieces, refactor some piece of code base, and it will get better. For bigger engineering projects, always think about the impact and communicate the impact.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I would just add to it that there are some practices you can follow as developers to at least reduce the amount of that you create, such as using pull requests and code reviews, such as even though highly indirect writing unit tests, integration tests, there are like simple techniques you can use to minimize, make less of a mess.
May I just...
Sure, Marcel, please.
I'll be super practical. Be as honest as possible when somebody asks you to do a new feature and you know it will, and do it faster than you think is right. Be very honest about the problems it will introduce into the code base or anything, and document it so that next time somebody comes back, why is it taking so long? Have it documented that you did tell them that it happened. It's super practical and stupid, but there's so many people that don't do it. Just like be honest about to your managers, be honest to your superiors, to your clients. And if you're not, it's technically on you. And more importantly, if you're honest and you document it, and the thing happens again and again and again, that might be a signal for you to leave whatever company you're in and whatever project you're working on. I'm sorry, but it's good to be honest. It might be more hard, it might be more painful, but try to be as honest to the people that you report to. And honestly, my experience has mostly been when I do that, the people actually respect you a little bit more. And if they don't, run.
Awesome, Adam.
Yeah, I think surprisingly my answer is quite unengineeringly. So I think generally you have to accept that there is no like a silver bullet solution you can do tomorrow to actually make things better. You have to understand that it's a process for a very long time. You have to you can start doing things in a different way, but it will take a long time until it will make a difference. So, and you have to understand that. Like in my career, I saw like very often it happens when you hire a new senior guy into your team. He comes and says, "Oh, everything is shit here. Like I'm gonna refactor it," and then he do something over the weekend and comes up with a PR, which is like 3,000 lines of 2 different files, and he basically reworks everything, and then everyone says like, what is this? Like no one really wants that. Like there is no discussion, there is nothing. Like you might think it's a better version of what we have, but it's not going to be better at the end of the day. And so understanding that there is probably nothing you can really do to right now, but you can change your behavior and make things better over time. It's going to take time.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll now take the questions from Slido. So should you want to add some more or upload the ones that are already in there, please feel free to do so. So let's start with the one that's most uploaded right now. I don't have it over here, but like I'll read it for you. What do you think about estimates being often viewed as promises? How do we prevent that? So whoever feels like answering, I can too if you want, but like that's not my job here.
I mean, it's a cultural problem, I would say. Of course, if you say this feature is going to be done October 2024, and then there's silence, and then October arrives and you are like, we are late. Then yes, it's like it sounds like a promise. But if you communicate, we provide project updates. If there are milestones, so we are able to evaluate where you are. I think the estimates within your company culture, that their meaning can change to more of a where we are in the project rather than a promise.
I see. Adam, or anyone on the other side?
Yeah, I think in our line of work, like we always have to communicate some estimates to our customers and tell them like, it's gonna be done by this date or that date. And it's always complicated because you never really know, and it's hard to estimate. But we try to be honest about it. Like we try to tell them, like, guys, this is our best case scenario. Like we think we might be there, but we might not. And I think that's like really important there.
Awesome. Anyone else? No. Okay, great. Then we have a bit of an interesting question. I guess this is, well, anyone who wants can answer this, but the question is, do you ever feel guilty for, handling over code that's far from great, that's basically duct taped together behind the scenes? In other words, if you have a, non-technical stakeholder, how would they know?
Absolutely not. It's really simple, because what was the implicit, like there is that's called over engineering. I wouldn't send a rocket ship to space which is like duct taped together, but I wouldn't mind if the rocket ship is just for display somewhere at public, like why not? Context is what matters.
Awesome. Do you want to add something, Matej?
So I'm not handing over projects to clients, but maybe perhaps to other teams within the company. And I feel like everyone understands this. So when we hand over some things, we are like, yeah, sorry about this, sorry about that. Like, we're not proud about this. And they're usually like, yeah, like, we know how it goes. It's okay, right?
Signs of a great culture, I guess. Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, the next question is even more sort of even more reflectory. Just, do you feel like it's become overestimated, the concept of depth? At least that's what I understand it as. Are we refactoring for depth a bit too much?
It's a developer experience.
Sorry. So do you feel like developer experience has become a bit too much of a topic here?
You mean like how developers feel like when working with the code? Because like me personally, in the previous company, I was running a developer experience team, but I guess that's something else. That's what the question is asking. Or
so I don't know. I didn't ask a question. You can trust me, but please.
Start the project with, I don't know the numbers, but for example, we will use PHP unit 1.0. But when you are delivering the project, there is PHP 4.0. But the client doesn't know, and your tests are still running. You can have developers which are pushing to upgrade the whole code base for this PHP unit 4, and it can delay the project. And how to, for example, if we have right now a situation where developers are playing with these tools instead of delivering projects, if there is like too much playing with the tools.
I have never worked in a project company, so all my career it was product companies, and there it's usually like a conscious decision. Like when you are prioritizing a feature, it's usually set up front that yes, a part of this is an upgrade of the tooling or so, because we need to do it because of security issues or something like that, and thus the estimate is bigger. And we decide consciously like whether to invest right now or later on. Perhaps some of you had project companies.
Reaction to that?
Yes. So I think we all sort of live in a bubble in terms of how good our jobs and positions are compared to a vast majority of the population. They often have to deal with very shitty systems, very shitty equipment. So we are in a way in this nice golden bubble many times. Even the fact that you can talk about the fact that you might upgrade the version might be super pampering to people. But there is a business case behind some of those decisions that you might want to make, right? So as I said, the clients are more and more, or at least in my experience, are more and more perceptive to the fact that, okay, well, if we don't upgrade now, what will it cost us? What's the downside that will happen down the line? And I think this is where you can show that you're a stellar developer, that you can speak in more business language or a little bit more, less the tech reasons for doing it and more what's the future benefits of having it upgraded. So yes, I would say we are over-pampered generally in tech compared to the rest of the population of the world. but I think, again, being honest, being open, and explaining why and fighting for it can be very helpful.
Awesome. Friends, we have time for like 1 or 2 questions at most. So if you'd like to, ask some last minute ones or about some of them, now is the time. Let's go with this fun one. So I guess we'll do a round very quickly. What's the worst technical debt you inherited, and did you, track down the culprit?
Like, honest answer? I mean, I will get back to the API or the basic concepts. Very early on, we've made a very stupid decision now in retrospective that we would uniquely identify products by their URL on the web. Very stupid idea. Yes, we identify the culprit, but it's extremely difficult to fix.
Awesome. Marcel?
I'm not recalling a very specific bad one, and we always joke about like who did this. Sometimes the person who calls it out then figures out it was actually them 3 years ago, but it's always about like, okay, so how do we get rid of it? Like, please don't track down the culprit. That's not good culture. Please.
Thank you. Dušan?
For me, it was one giant database in a microservices-oriented architecture, but there was still one giant database that grew to proportions that didn't fit to the biggest instance size that was provided by AWS. So that's the worst.
Awesome.
I think this was really, really long time ago. My last job where I work as a DevOps engineer. And we've been managing a very old Java application, which, it was a really large monolith, which was coming from mainframe original software. So it was rewritten from whatever you write software in mainframe into one huge Java monolith. And yeah, that was really, really bad. And they actually tried to rework it, but yeah, company doesn't exist anymore, so that's
answers the question. Thank you. Matej, please.
I don't have anything specific, but I think the ones that really sting are. So talking to my colleagues from SDK teams, I realize how good we have it on the web, because we do some fix, we refactor something, we do some changes, we push to prod, front end, back end. People refresh their browsers or something, and everyone gets the latest and greatest thing immediately, right? But when they work on SDKs, often these decisions that maybe were not bad at that time, right? But they then hunt them for years because those SDKs are out there. You can't take them back, right? Think of your IoT smart fridge that you just don't have access to, right? So I feel like those are really painful ones.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We did run out of time and perhaps out of a bit of energy as well. We certainly haven't run out of things to discuss, and that's sort of unfortunate. But we had 45 minutes, and I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did. One round of applause for the panelists once again.